Welcome, friends, to Best of Travel. My name's Brandon. We're off the air this week, so we're airing a rebroadcast, but I wanted to reach out and say I'm still here. We've got some great travel content planned coming up for you. The travel industry, the travel world is changing so fast. It's crazy to keep up with. So we've got some awesome content planned. We're also going to be talking a lot in the future about socially distant travel options, low risk travel options, and pandemic safe travel options. So make sure you stay tuned. We'll be back very shortly. But in the meantime, I want to share with you a video about the good old days of travel. We're going to air this rebroadcast to make sure you know how to take a affordable European vacation. We're going to break down the budget. We're going to have lots of fun. But very soon, we'll be sharing some really interesting, unique travel stories with you. And I'm very excited about what's coming down the pipeline. So stay tuned every Tuesday here at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for lots of fun, lots of adventures, lots of, just everything you could ever want. And yeah, but we're out there this week, so enjoy Best of Travel, Travel Tuesdays, where we talk about a budget European vacation. My name's Brandon. I'm a world traveler, foodie, and YouTuber. Together, you and I will find the best travel hacks, tips, and best places to explore. Join me as we find new adventures together, live only on IBM.tv. TV. My name is Brandon. Welcome to the Best of Travel. I hope you're having a great day today. Happy Tuesday. If you're tuning in here with me, we're having a little bit of a party. If you don't know me, my name is Brandon. For the next hour, I'll be your host. If you like this show, be sure to tune in every week at 11 o'clock Eastern so we can chat, we can hang out. We do this show live every week here on IBM TV. It's a ton of fun. We talk all about different travel content, city guides, travel tips, tricks, and hacks to make sure you have the best vacation every single time. You can also check out my YouTube channel where you can subscribe for even more travel content. There's just tons and tons of videos there from back in the days when we used to travel. And the best part of the show, of course, is that it's live. It's a live show. So if you're watching and you're hanging out in that Facebook chat, you're hanging out in the YouTube channel, leave a comment below. It'll pop up here on the screen right below me, and you will be able to chat live on the air. We can talk all about travel together. We can have a lot of fun doing it. Today, I thought it would be fun to hop into a little bit of a time machine. It's been so long that we've been stuck at home. We've been unable to travel. We've been unable to connect with other people, and it's tough. I know. I'm feeling it. I know it. I can tell. So I thought let's get in a time machine today. Let's play pretend. Let's have a little bit of fun. Let's step back into the past, because today we're going to step back into the past, so that way you can step into the future. Does that make any sense? No, sure doesn't. But do I make any sense ever? Nah. So we're gonna tell you a little bit about a trip I took pre plague. I guess it's a plague, really. I mean, I think we look back on plague times, right? We're in a plague now. It's a plague. I think you could say that. It's like the Black Death, except it's the aerosolized lung death. I don't know. But we're gonna look back on a trip I took pre pre-quarantine, pre-coronavirus, and we're gonna have a little bit of fun talking about it. I'm gonna break it down for you in great detail, so that way you can take a similar trip when the pandemic lifts. One of the things you hear all the time as a travel expert, and I know I'm a travel expert because it says so right there under my name. Look, it says travel expert. Isn't that fun? I realized the last few weeks I was wearing a white shirt under this, so you couldn't actually see the anyway. So we're gonna answer the one question I get all the time, or kind of the one prohibitive thing I hear a lot as a travel expert, travel guide kind of person, and that's, Brandon, I can't travel. It's too expensive. I hear that all the time. People say it so often, especially in the United States. For us Americans, you hear it day in and day expensive. It's just too expensive to travel. And it's not. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to break down how you can take an affordable trip that is still a ton of fun and still feel like you're living in luxury. It's totally possible. It's totally doable. I have some of as much money tucked away. So this is a question you get all the time, and I thought today on the show, let's answer it. Let's go into great detail. I actually earlier this spring made a video where I broke all this down, and you can visit my website, thebrandonscott.com, to read the blog post where I break down. I give you the spreadsheets, I give you all the pictures, I give you all the details. You can kind of really get it all laid out. And while you're there, I should mention too, there is a limited edition line I have on my store at thebrandonscott.com where you can pick up a few of gear, swag, merch from my Moments line. It's only there until December 15th. After December 15th, it goes away forever. It's limited edition. That's the point. So while you're reading the breakdown of what we're talking about on the show today, you can pick up some fun swag. But today, we're going to talk about how you can take a vacation in Europe for less than $200 a day. That's like a ticket to Disney World. So we're going to get in the time machine. We're going to go way back to pre-pandemic, and I'm going to break this budget trip down for you and show you how you can have a dream European vacation without breaking the bank. So when that quarantine finally ends, the vaccine comes out, the pandemic passes, you're ready and raring to go. And we're gonna break it all down for you. So I have a fancy little spreadsheet that I'm going to bring up here, or a little, I guess, presentation to share with you. And it's going to pop up over here on the screen, Mr. Win, whenever you're ready. And we're gonna break down all the details. I've got all the numbers laid out for you over here. So let's see if we can pull this up here. Let me get to my little tab. So let's first of all let me share with you the total cost, what I spent on this vacation, because this is, look how fancy we are today. This is my Google Slides spreadsheet. I'm cheating on my graphics. I didn't want to render a whole After Effects package, so this is what we're doing. This is the total cost of a trip to Europe. Are you ready for this? Boom, right there. That's everything I spent when I went to Europe for like 10 days. It was like a 2-week vacation, I think. It was a decently long vacation. That's flights, food, that's hotels, that's lodging, Ubers, all of it. And I never felt like I was on a budget vacation. I always felt like I was, it felt luxurious to me. So we're gonna step through all this and share with you how you can have a dream 2-week vacation in Europe for less than $200 a day, less than a ticket to Walt Disney World. You can explore and have fun in the beautiful Mediterranean or any destination you want to visit in Europe. This is how you're going to do it. So we're going to put it into a couple categories. We're going to break this down first into flights, which is the big thing. You hear a lot about flights. Everybody talks about flights. Flights are expensive. They don't have to be. I did a whole episode. I think my very first episode of Best of Travel, I think, was actually about flight hacks back in July, August, something like that. We talked about flight hacks, and I gave you some tools. So if you're curious, you can check that episode from months ago and watch some of those tips and tricks. But I'll give you a few of them today. I'll give you the basics. I'll give you kind of the basic breakdown. The second category that we're going to put our budget into is lodging. Lodging. Gotta have somewhere to sleep while you're hanging out in Europe. And then the third category, I just kind of lumped it all together. Just put it all together in one. Transportation, food, and fun. Because I didn't really spend very much on transportation once I was on location at each city I visited. I did spend a little bit on food and fun, but I thought I'd just put it in one category because we can kind of break it down that way. These are the three big categories. We're going to go through all three categories and what I spent for a 2-week vacation in Europe, and I'll share hopefully some of the luxury of it with you. There is a full YouTube video of the breakdown. So if you actually want to see like a tour of the Airbnbs that I stayed in, you can do that on my YouTube channel. This is our overview. This is my teaser overview, my hour-long teaser overview of exactly what we did. So first, we're going to talk about flights. And I tell you what, I get this question all the time. People always want to know, how do you get cheap flights? Where do you go to get cheap flights? When's the best time to book? Hey, girlfriend, good for you for asking. Even better for you to, you can visit, if you want a quick link, you can visit my website, thebrandonscott.com/IBMTV, and there's a list of all the shows there and their topics that I've done. So you can just click the link and you want to see flight hacks, boom, click that link. I did a whole hour-long Best of Travel episode on flight hacks. I also talked a lot about it when I talked about how early to book flights. A little bit last week too when we talked about travel agents, but lots and lots. You gotta watch all these shows, man. They're all just chocked full of stuff, just like me after Thanksgiving, chocked full of turkey. So here's my flight budget breakdown. Are you ready for this? Boom! Look at that. So on my trip, I spent about 2 weeks. I went to Paris, Amsterdam, Spain, London, and then back to Boston. Hey, Boston. I flew out of Boston because it was cheaper. And that's kind of the first, I guess, tip. That's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Pick a hub airport. Always pick a hub airport. I know you may live in San Antonio. Drive up to Dallas. Get a friend to drive up to Dallas, or take the Amtrak up to Dallas. It'll be way cheaper for you to book a flight from a major hub airport than to get that connecting flight, even if you have to, bum a friend to drive you. So here's what I spent on flights. You ready for this? I guess I got to point, I'm backwards, point this way. So my flight to Paris, which was from Boston to Paris, my flight to Amsterdam, my flight to Spain, my flight to London, and then my flight back to Boston. I don't know why. I just noticed Spain is the only, I put country. I put a country with a bunch of cities. I don't know why I did that. I went to Menorca in Spain specifically. So if you're curious, I don't know why I phrased it that way. So less than $1,000 on flights to visit a handful of cities in Europe and come to and from the States. One easy way I did that is by making sure I used my tools. I talk about these tools all the time. These tools are super, super useful. There's lots of them. And like I said, if you want the real breakdown of cheap flights, you can watch my cheap flights episode. Skyscanner is a great tool. I talked all about it in one episode. Momondo. I love that name. Momondo. Also a great tool to use to book your flights. I always check those first because I can bypass a lot of the challenges if I check my cheap flight finder tools first. And then, of course, did I just have a stroke live on the air? Incognito. Not a flight hack tool, but when you're searching for flights, do it in your incognito browser because those companies will put cookies on your browser to track and see how often you're looking at flights, and the prices will go up slowly to give you a little bit of fear of missing out, a little bit of FOMO. So check it out in incognito. Use your tools. Watch that whole episode, and that'll help a lot. So flying from a hub airport and using a couple of smart flight booking engines and doing it in an incognito browser or in private browser, or I don't know, what is in behind the scenes browser? I don't know what Microsoft Explorer uses. Does anyone use Internet Explorer anymore? I don't think so. So great tools to have. Easy way to save you a little bit of money on your flights. The other thing I want to talk about is luggage. Here's the deal. You can get dirt cheap flights if you're willing to take very little luggage. Now, some people, this is a challenge, but I tell most people you'd be surprised how easy it is to have like needs for very little while you're traveling abroad. It's really a cool way to cut down on your costs is to just take a simple carry-on bag. Don't check a bag. You can go on like Norwegian. You can get some of these budget airlines for way cheaper. Oh, thanks, Kim, for the comment. She says there's some great Christmas gifts on my website. There are. You can visit if you want thebrandscout.com. Get some great Christmas gifts. The Moments line does end December 15th. So if you're wanting to get something from the Moments line, December 15th is the last time to get it. I can't promise it'll make it there by Christmas, fulfilling all these orders. But if you want to pick up that Moments line, it's limited edition. It ends on the 15th. It goes away forever. And thanks, Terry, for the comment as well. Terry says, hello. I'm glad you're here, Terry. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad you like the show. We're talking about luggage. And Lord knows, I have a lot of emotional baggage. I got a lot of baggage. I don't take it with me on the plane. I take my one simple bag. Here's my kind of luggage tip in general, right? So here's how I feel about luggage. I take everything I think I'm going to need, and then I cut it down by half. I add in my towel and some extra socks, and that's what I'm going to take. So in this particular trip that we're talking about, I took like a 20-kilo bag, carry-on bag, and I took a backpack with all my camera gear, and that was it. The backpack went with me and went under the seat, and then the bag I could put up above on the plane as a carry-on, or I could gate check it if they were providing that option. And that's the other thing that, hello, y'all, gate check your bag. Pack in a way where your valuables and your lithium-ion batteries and such are in your carry-on bag, and then or your personal item, and then take your carry-on bag as something that you wouldn't mind gate checking. Yes, it may be all your clothes, but it'll make your trip a lot easier. You don't have to haul that bag around. So if you can gate check, do. That's why I shouldn't say this. Am I going to get canceled? I might get canceled. You're just gonna cut to a black screen after this. I shouldn't say it because I want them to sponsor me one day, but I'm not a huge fan of Away bags, that brand. Any bags that have a lithium ion battery in them make it really tough to gate check your bag, and it's way easier to gate check your bag, and you don't have to pay for it. So if you have a lithium ion battery in your bag, all the new bags that will let you charge your phone, I don't know, get them. They're great, but also stay away from them. See, I'm going to get canceled. I better be careful. So the other thing we can talk about, and I could do people make a living. People legitimately make a living talking about credit cards and points and rewards hacking, the points people, the points men, the points girls, the points. There's lots of great resources out there. I am terrible at this. My theory is sign up for every rewards program you can and just let them accrue, and then eventually you'll go, oh, wait a second, I have points. Some people really will hack the system, but if you have a hotel credit card or an airline credit card, check in with them, give their customer service a call or check on their website. A lot of them have partner points, which are ways where you can like transfer your points from one company to another. So you might have like a Hilton credit card, but you may be able to transfer your rewards points to your, United or American flight or whatever their partner is, to have a free bag to check. I'm a big fan of it. If you're going to take a short trip, just take a carry-on. I spent about 4 years traveling full time. So this was, I think, one of the very few trips where I was able to pack just for like 2 weeks. So if you can, just take a carry-on. It's way, way easier. The other thing we're going to talk about is food, snacks, airports. Hello, expensive airports, more like air money port pits. That's not funny. Look at me. I'm off my game already. Airport food is very expensive. We all know this. Pack some snacks. I had a great friend that I used to travel with for like a year and a half, and she would take dried oats through security, and that was her snack, because then she could just get hot water on the plane or in the airport and make oatmeal. Don't recommend that, because she would get flagged everywhere she went, because it was like a powdery, it's like a chalky powdery oat substance. So I'm a big fan of granola bars. Take some granola bars, take some snacks, take a little bag of something to munch on, so that way you don't have to spend money in the airport. You'll save a bunch there. The other thing that's key here, and this is how I save money on this particular trip we're talking about. If you're just joining the stream, if you're just hopping in, we are taking a time machine backwards in time to a trip I took a while ago. I'm breaking down the budget for you so you can spend less than $200 a day for a 2 week vacation, a bougie, lovely, bourgeoisie 2 week vacation in Europe. $200 a day and still feel like you're doing it like a king or queen. So overnight flights are great because if you're going to sleep during the flight, you're not going to snack as much, you're not going to need the entertainment, you're not going to pay for anything extra. You just get on the plane and go to sleep. And then you don't need to buy drinks and snacks and food on the plane. So I'm a big fan of overnight flights. Also, it just makes me feel like I'm using my time better. You know what I'm saying? Next category. So this is the second category in our how to do Europe, how to take a 2 week trip in Europe on $200 a day. It's almost a tongue twister. How to take a 2 week trip in Europe for $200 a day. Lodging. Now, here's the deal when it comes to lodging. A lot of people who are my age will tell you just stay in hostels. It's super cheap. You get to meet people. It's a great, great time. Yes, it's cheap. Yes, there's community. But I'm an old soul. I just can't stay in a room with a bunch of drunk 21-year-olds. That's just not me. I can't do it. So stay in style. Have some fun. Lodging is a place to spend a little bit of money. And here's the way to do it. Here's the way to book your lodging. Hi, Mark. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining in. We're talking about Europe. We're taking a time machine back for a 2 week trip in Europe for less than $200 a day. I spent about $2,000 for a lovely 2 week vacation in Europe, flights, food, and all. And we're talking a little bit about lodging. Stay in style, have some fun when you're booking your vacation. Pick a couple cities where, okay, maybe you're not going to stay in the best Airbnb or the best place, but give yourself one where you can just luxuriate. Here's mine. This is the one I picked to luxuriate. Look at that little house. This was in Menorca, Spain, a little island in the Mediterranean Sea, a little tiny island. And I was just me by myself on a solo trip. And I had a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house with a backyard with a barbecue and a private swimming pool. uh, that was where I stayed in Spain, and I didn't break the bank to do it. It was the most expensive lodging I paid for sure, but I didn't break the bank to do it. That particular house in Punta Prima in Menorca was about $430 for I think like 3 or 4 nights. So totally worth it. I had my own space. Mark says he and a friend were reflecting about a trip they took to Atlanta. Yes, I like Atlanta. And he stayed at a bad hotel. Here's the thing about when you're traveling internationally, most people will do exactly what you do, Mark. They'll just either wing it and pick a random hotel, and it might be great and it might be terrible, or they'll pick a brand name hotel where they know it'll at least be okay, but they're going to pay an arm and a leg for it. I'm a big fan of the Airbnb area and the vacation home rental area. So this is exactly what I spent to the penny for 2 weeks in each city. Now you might look at this little spreadsheet. Look at my little, the graphics department on this show is amazing. Thank you, Google Slides and Excel. Wow. Look at me go. You may be wondering, how did you only spend $178 in Paris for a place to stay? And I'll tell you exactly how, but I have to Google how to pronounce the word. I'm going to Google it. Here we go. I can't remember it's a specific kind of, it's called oh gosh. Okay. I know this is streaming internationally, so I need to say, I have to put it out there. Je suis désolé, je parle pas français. Je suis désolé. Very, very sorry. But the reason I was able to only spend $178 in Paris to stay is because I stayed in a Chambre de Bonne, and I just made 100 Frenchmen roll in their graves. A Chambre de Bonne. It's known as a maid's room. So when you walk in through Paris and you see those kind of buildings that are those like 4-story kind of lovely looking buildings, usually on each floor or near the top in the corner rooms, there's a little maid's quarters. It's a tiny, tiny little room. I actually did a full tour of that Airbnb on my YouTube channel if you want to see it. But it was perfect for me. I mean, I only really slept in it and ate in it, I think, once, and spent the rest of the time wandering around Paris. So some tricks like that will certainly help. The other key thing here is that I traveled in the off season. Actually, I traveled in the pre-season, I think is the technical term for it. Um, so the reason I was able to get like that beautiful 4 bedroom, 2 bath, private pool on the beach Airbnb for like $100 a night is because I went in. Oh man, this I have COVID brain. It's where I think I can't remember time frames because it's been 20 years we've been in this. We've been in this pandemic. I think it was like April that I traveled, which was just before the big tourist season in Punta Prima in Menorca, Spain. So pre-season travel or off-season travel, it's a great way to save a little bit of money. Do a quick Google search because you want to make sure you're not going to, Thailand in monsoon season. But if you can go just before, just after their tourist season, you're going to get some super great deals on your lodging. Ah, food, my favorite category. Can you tell? Look at this. I don't have a neck anymore. This pandemic, I don't have a neck. Um, Food is an area where I will spend a little bit more than I should. I try to be very careful, but I do like some nice fun food. This particular dish is in Punta Prima, and on an island in Spain. This island I was telling you about, and they have cheese that's on the island, and it's called Mahone cheese. I actually wrote a whole blog post about it on my website if you want to read about it. But it was really, really good. It was creamy and delicious. Mark says, what do you think of hotels and other accommodation spaces that also serve as event spaces? I think you're going to pay more to stay there. I think if you can do like a vacation rental or an Airbnb, or like a temporary or short-term condo, you're going to be able to have a better space and more space. You might not have all the amenities, you might not have housekeeping and stuff, but I'm a big fan of Airbnbs. I love Airbnbs. I love that kind of vacation rental market because you get a full, beautiful house in the off season for dirt cheap. Actually, fun story. I'm gonna take a tangent here. Oh my gosh, when you can put me back full screen, you put me at full screen. I got a tangent coming. I can feel it coming on. So funny story. I in the beginning of this pandemic, for those of you who don't know me that well, I was in Europe and we were evacuated back to the United States when the borders closed. Y'all remember that when that happened like 50 years ago in March? I was evacuated back to the United States and I didn't have a place to live because I had been traveling full time for like 4 years. So I was voluntarily homeless. So the way I was able to find a place to live is I found a vacation rental in Florida that was super cheap because it was off-season travel in Florida. And we just stayed there for like 2 months while we looked for a place to actually live and, kind of got our lives together. So vacation rentals are great in the off season. Airbnbs are great in the off season. Hotels are, can be great in the off season too. You do get some perks, you do get some amenities. But anything that I think has a large event space as well, it's just going to be a little bit higher to stay there because they also have to maintain that whole event space. So kind of up to you. So food wise, let's break down food and then we'll go to our break here in a minute. But I want to talk a little bit about food. So food, and the reason I'm a big fan of Airbnbs are that you can cook at an Airbnb. And there is nothing more fun and cultural, I think, and I could be wrong, nothing more fun and cultural, I think, than going to like a supermarket in a foreign country and trying to cook a dish. A fun foreign dish because you won't be able to read the ingredients. You get to kind of pick some new foods, flavors, packages, and spices and try to make something fun. And you'll save a lot of money by doing it that way. And it's good to have that experience, I think, but also it's cheap. It's cheaper to do. And it's a nice way to save a little bit of money. So if you can, you're staying in Airbnb, staying in somewhere with the kitchen, go grab a couple of things to make yourself like a, I don't know, a fancy lunch, maybe a picnic kind of lunch. Make your little picnic kind of lunch, and then go out for a nice afternoon snack, or do vice versa. I'm a big fan when it comes to food of eating at a nice fancy restaurant for lunch because it'll be cheaper to have your nice fancy restaurant for lunch, and then going back to your Airbnb and maybe cooking for dinner, or maybe going and getting a little snack for dinner, a little something simple for dinner. Here's what you do. This is funny. Here's what you don't do. This was my travel mistake, and we'll go to our break after this, I swear. But when you're traveling with food, don't look at me. Oh, I'm ashamed. Don't look at me. I'm hideous. This is me eating a crepe at the Eiffel Tower. I paid like 18 euros for that crepe just because I thought it would be fun to do and take a picture. Um, don't eat near the tourist hotspots. Eat a little bit away from the tourist hotspots. It'll be cheaper and better food too. So, you know, I'm just saying. I really do think that I got look how I'm just demolishing that crepe. Let's get that off the screen, huh? The other thing are that snacks and picnics are your friends, especially if you're traveling in Europe. In Europe, it is super common, and you can also open container laws. If you're a drinker, um, get a bottle of wine, get a baguette, get some prosciutto, some cheese, whatever, and go into a park and just sit and have a lovely picnic. It is great. It is casual. It is relaxing. It's great for Instagram, but it's also great for your budget. So snacks and picnics are your friend. You move around the city a lot, so take some snacks with you during the day. It'll be cheaper if you just kind of munch and graze and then have your nice big lunch or whatever. Definitely a better way to do that. On this particular trip, one of the nice things I was able to do with food is I was able to eat at some of these restaurants because they had an off-season menu, particularly in Spain and in Menorca and on Punta Prima. There were a couple of big touristy restaurants by the beach, and they had like an off-season menu that had a lot of like cheaper options and not like full dish options. So like off-season travel will save you a lot there. So we are going to take a quick break. We're at a half hour in already. That just flew right through. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about how you can take a trip to Europe for a whole 2 weeks for like $200 a day, less than the price of a ticket to Disney World. And less than a ticket to Disney World. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to cover transportation and fun and share with you some great budget fun tips on how you can have a luxurious, beautiful European vacation without breaking the bank. You are watching Best of Travel here on IBM TV. Travel. It doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to be expensive. When you think of travel, it can be easy to get overwhelmed from pricey airline flights, dates of your hotel, navigating in Ubers and taxis in foreign languages, and currency exchange. It can feel really complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Let me help you break down travel into some easy, simple steps so that way you can take the trip of a lifetime without breaking the bank or stressing yourself out. Travel is more complicated now than ever, so having a guide who's experienced to help you navigate the world of travel can be priceless. And it is priceless. It's free to watch here on IBM TV and free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I'll give you some great travel tips and advice. There's nothing quite like snapping that photo at sunset in Paris, trying great coffee in Colombia, or adventuring around Spain having a great sunny day. Even if you want to travel domestically, from budget travel guides in New Orleans, New York, Paris, and London, to luxury travel guides and everything in between, travel can be so much fun and so much more affordable than you think. I hope you're having a great time watching me here live on IBM TV. I have a ton of fun making Travel Tuesdays Travel with Brandon, and I hope you're having a lot of fun watching. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, swing by my YouTube channel. You can find my YouTube channel full of great travel tips, some travel hacks, some food recommendations, city guides, budget travel tips, and so much more. Subscribing on YouTube is free to do, and it helps support me and continue making great travel content for you to see. You can also visit me online at thebrandonscott.com, where you can get even more travel advice, some great links, and some in-depth breakdowns of trips I've taken and trips you can plan. It's a great way to find a little bit of inspiration for your next adventure and some travel tips. I've got cities both domestic and international that you can check out. Find the best places to eat, the best things to see, the best things to do, and how to do it all affordably. Whether you want to stay at Airbnbs or 5-star luxury hotels, there are great ways you can do all of those things on a budget. Swing by my YouTube channel, give that big red subscribe button some love, and don't forget to visit thebrandonscott.com for even more travel tips. From great photos in Paris, to awesome food in Spain, to wild adventures in Colombia. If you want to adventure and you want to see more, this is the place to do it. Now back to, I guess, live me on IBM TV. Enjoy Travel Tuesdays and Travel with Brandon.
And I run away out of all this rain. I just went out.
Oh man, look how young I looked. That was back in like June, July, when I thought the pandemic would be over soon. Wow. If you're just joining the stream, if you're just popping in, my name is Brandon. This is Best of Travel every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. The best part of the stream is, of course, that it's live. So if you're hanging out in that Facebook chat, if you're hanging out on YouTube, pop a comment and leave a comment below. It'll pop up here on the screen and we can have a nice little chat. I did want to answer a couple quick questions. So Mark brought up a couple of great comments. He says that a past guest of his stayed in Bali for very cheap. Yet Bali is great. It's getting expensive now because everybody's been going over the last few years. But you can get like, actually, I was supposed to spend my 26th birthday back in April. I had booked a villa in Bali for a month for $600. It had a it was a huge villa in the tropics. It was beautiful. It was lovely. So you're right. Bali is definitely very, very affordable. And then he also says that local bed and breakfasts are also really cool places to visit. So Airbnbs, bed and breakfasts, things like that are going to be really your savior here. So let's pop back into our little slideshow here. We're talking about how to have a great trip in Europe for like $200 a day. And we've covered flights, we've covered food, we've covered, what else have we covered? Lodging. We've covered flights, food, and lodging. And now we're into transportation. Here we go. Here's the thing. Transportation. Boom. This is a little bit of thinking. I know, it's scary. A little bit of thinking. Think about the cost benefit of your trip. Where are you going to stay and where do you want to go? So if you're going to land at an airport and the place you've booked is super cheap because it's 6 miles away from the city center, well, it's like 6 miles away from the airport. You got to get there. You got to take an Uber through downtown, London or Paris or something. So factor that in. It may be cheaper to stay there, but how much you're going to be coming and going from that place. So if you're going to stay in Pantene, for example, but you're going to be going to downtown Paris a lot, it may be cheaper to just stay a little bit closer and spend a little bit more to stay a little closer, so that way you don't have to spend so much going to and from. So that you got to do a little thought processing there. Here's kind of the ultimate thing when it comes to transportation is you just got to do it. Sometimes when you're in a city and you see something and you want to go there, go. It's totally worth doing. It's it's great to just, okay, you know what, we're just going to spend a little extra dollars on this Uber or whatever, and do it. Go explore. Now, pre-pandemic, I would have said it's probably better to take public transportation if you can. Um, Post pandemic, yeah, maybe not so much. We'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. But it's best just to go take that little trip. So when you're in Europe, when you're in a different city, the one place you really don't want to get hung up on is transportation. It's okay if you get a little hung up on whatever with flights, you get a little hung up with lodging, but you want to make sure you have a little bit of playroom in your budget for transportation. Because if you're out and about somewhere and someone says, "Hey, let's go do this thing," or "Look what I just found," you want to be able to hop in an Uber or hop onto the metro, hop onto the bus, and do that. Visit wherever it is. So it's good to have a little bit of playroom there, I think. And that's kind of the moral of the story here, right? You can do these things, you can take these trips for an affordable price, but still have a really great time. It's how do I phrase this? It is important to make sure you're going to have a positive trip. So there might be some areas you have to spend a little bit more on. That's why I said when it comes to lodging, spend a little bit more in lodging for one city. If you're going to go to 4 or 5 cities in Europe, pick one city and you're going to maybe a little longer there, or maybe it's by the beach or whatever. And that's going to be your little expenditure category. That's going to be where you're going to have a nicer place. You're going to spend a little bit more because you do want to enjoy your trip. You can shave corners in other areas. It's worth doing, I think, is I guess what I'm getting into. So with all of that breakdown, I did want to remind you, if you're watching, if you wanted the specifics, I did a whole bunch of videos and blogs about this. So if you want to see like tours of the Airbnbs I stayed in, you want to see how I kind of got around Europe, and you want to see the actual budget breakdown, you can visit my website and visit my YouTube channel. I did whole videos on them. The sad thing I want to kind of hit on in the last 15 minutes or so here of the show. I want to hit on a few mistakes I made, because I made some mistakes. And you will too. But the nice thing is I've made a lot of mistakes for you that you can learn from, so that way you don't have to make those mistakes. But one mistake I made was in Amsterdam. Amsterdam is a great place to visit. The Netherlands are great. All that area is just a really great place to visit. Totally worth it. I made a mistake of booking an early morning flight to Amsterdam, and then going to my Airbnb, which was 15 miles away from the city center of Amsterdam. And so I paid like $40 to get in a taxi to get to this Airbnb. And then I got there and I was like, I have 24 hours in this city. I don't want to, spend another $40 to go back into the city, another 40, but it's $100 to spend on a day of just exploring Amsterdam before I even do anything. So that was the cost benefit. You gotta look at where you're staying and, figure out, okay, where am I going to want to go? For me, big cities are usually pretty safe. So Paris, it doesn't really matter where you stay, right? Because there's the subway, the metro there, as they call it, that you can get around pretty easily. I'm a big fan of the scooters. If you watch my YouTube channel, which I encourage you all to do, because it's I think more entertaining than watching me scream into the void for an hour. So if you like me screaming into the void, you'll really like watching me explore some of these cities. But I'm a big fan of the scooters. Electric scooters dot major cities all over Europe, and now they're really starting to dot major cities all over the States. They're super cheap and they're electric, and you get to kind of like see the city as though you're doing a walking tour, but much faster and without actually having to walk. So somewhere like Paris, somewhere like London, you're going to have those options, the buses, the metro, you're going to have the scooters. You're going to have plenty of options to affordably get where you want to go. You got to be careful though, if you're going to be using public transportation after the pandemic, especially. I don't know how that'll play out. So like stay tuned to Best of Travel. I'll give you all the updates on that. But when we do get into a safe place again, I encourage it. You do have to also be aware of the way they work in different countries. For example, when I lived in New York, or stayed in New York for a while, I don't know that I really lived in New York. I feel like New Yorkers would get mad at me if I said I lived there. I've stayed in New York for extended periods of time. Let me put it that way. Um, but you just buy a unlimited Metro card, and you go anywhere. You hop on the train, hop on the subway, and go anywhere. And somewhere like London, you're going to buy it based on the zone you're going to use. You're going to buy a Metro card for the downtown zone or the outer ring of the city or whatever. So you do have to kind of pay a little bit of attention, but using public transportation is a great way. So major cities, the cost benefit is like not so much there. But when you're staying in someone that's not quite as major, so for example, my little island in the Mediterranean in the south of Spain, not a super metropolitan area. So there was no chance I was going to be able to walk to downtown, which was on the other side of the island. And there were no Ubers on the island. There was no metro. There was no bus. There was no scooter. It was a very expensive taxi that you could call and schedule ahead. So I made sure to spend a little bit more on my lodging, get a little nicer place right by the beach, right by where I wanted to be. So that way I had some ease and some flexibility to actually do the things I wanted to do while I was there. But like as you saw from that photo, and if you do want to go look at the whole video, some of these places, the places that I stayed, these weren't hostels. These weren't like small, hotel rooms. I had the hotel or the Airbnb in Amsterdam was like a full kitchen, full living room, 2 bedroom, beautiful bathroom. Stunning place with a patio, private patio. I mean, it was just a beautiful place, and it was like $90 a night, cheaper than a hotel room would have been. My place in London, I did stay in a hotel because I wanted to stay near the airport. But my place like in Paris, was a lovely little maid's quarters. It wasn't huge, but it was right in the heart of where I went, right next to like the Moulin Rouge and kind of right in the heart of Montmartre, where you could go see Sacré-Cœur, which you should do if you're ever in Paris. It's beautiful. So it was in a really good area for me, and I knew I was going to spend a lot of my time out and about exploring. So lodging is one of those things you do want to put a little bit of thought into. You want to think about where you're going to be staying, how far it is from the airport, and where you're going to want to go once you get there. Doesn't make any sense to get to the airport and spend $50 on a taxi to get to your Airbnb, because your Airbnb is cheaper further away, and drop off your stuff and spend another $50 to take a taxi back into downtown, and then at the end of the day spend another $50 to take a taxi back to your Airbnb. You've spent $150 just in Ubers and taxis to go back and forth from your Airbnb to the places you want to go. You could have just spent $150 a night and had a closer place, or $100 plus what you spent on that cheap Airbnb. So that's your cost benefit. You do have to think a little bit about lodging, but using some of these tools, using some of these hacks, you can have a 2-week lovely bougie vacation in Europe for less than a ticket to Disney World. So I do tell people, I try to convey the message that travel is not as expensive as you think. It doesn't have to be as expensive as you think. Some people prefer to travel in a more expensive way, but you can still take that trip. If you put away a little bit of money every month, you could have $2,000 saved up in a year. If you can make that happen, I don't know if anyone post-pandemic will be able to, but we're in the time machine. Remember, I told you at the beginning of this episode, we've stepped into the time machine and we're in the past. So hopefully we can springboard into the future. We're in a time machine today. We're in the time warp is what we're in with this pandemic. What was I saying? But I think, the point is, it's easy to think, oh, okay, I'll just take a trip to, the Blue Ridge Mountains this summer. Well, okay, maybe if you skip that once or twice, there all of a sudden you don't have to take that 4-day trip to somewhere domestically. You could take a long 2-week trip to somewhere like Europe or to somewhere internationally. I gravitate towards Europe a lot because I think it's an easy place for new travelers to break in. So if you're not a well-traveled person, or you're not super comfortable with the idea of going to an international country by yourself, going somewhere where it's a very similar culture, where English is widely spoken and it's a national language in a lot of places, makes it a little easier for folks who want to get out of the country, who haven't yet, first time they're looking to go. So I do think that that's the place to do it. I do also think that if you haven't traveled outside of the country before, book your trip to Europe, but start in an English-speaking country. It can be a little intimidating to be solo in, Belgium and have people coming at you with Flemish, or et cetera, et cetera. So start somewhere like a London, like the UK, Scotland, Ireland. Start somewhere where English will be kind of common, so that way you can adjust a little bit in the first few days before you head out into a real foreign country. However, even though I do recommend Europe as a good starting off spot for people who are looking to kind of start traveling internationally, there are a lot cheaper places to go. Mark mentioned one of them a little bit ago. Bali is much more affordable. It's getting a little expensive now, but it's still very, very affordable. Phuket is very affordable. You can also do a lot of Latin American countries. Colombia is super cheap. And so is, Brazil's cheap-ish, depends on where you go. Ecuador's an affordable place to visit. Belize is fairly affordable, believe it or not. It's a big touristy spot, but it can be pretty affordable too. So those are places that you can travel. Maybe once you're a little more comfortable with the idea of international travel, that you're gonna have a great experience and do it on a pretty decent budget. I do think that it's easier for new travelers to start with something like Europe, because we've seen the Rick Steves, we've seen the Samantha Browns, we kind of are familiar with the idea of European travel and European countries and cultures, so it's less intimidating, but it can be cheaper to go somewhere very, very different. I think that's really the way to go. So hopefully today on the show, you've had a chance to take a deep dive with me into a European trip that I took in my little time machine. Ooh, there's my time machine sound effect. Way back when I took this trip. And hopefully, now that you've seen the show, you can check out that YouTube channel, go to the website, copy and bookmark all those details. So that way, in the next, hopefully, 6 months, 8 months, when the vaccine starts to roll out, the pandemic starts to lift, hopefully, when that starts to happen in the next year or so, you will be ready to go. You will be raring to go and take that affordable, fun, bougie trip. That's the point of the show here on Best of Travel. We're all stuck at home. We're all stuck inside. So you can tune in every week, Tuesday at 11, to hang out with me, where I'll give you all the best travel tips, hacks, and tricks to make sure you have the best vacation every time. I end every show by kind of saying the same thing. I'm tooting my own horn again and again here, but I do want to remind you that the Moments line on my website does go away on December 15th. So if you want to get some Moments gear, I have some cool Champion swag on there. It disappears forever on the 15th. So now's the time to go grab some of that. The Explore line will be up through the end of the year, so you have some time to grab those Explore items. But as I end every show saying, stay home, stay safe, wear your mask. We're not traveling right now. I know the holidays are here. I know people went out and about for Thanksgiving. I didn't. It was actually really nice to not have a crazy busy Thanksgiving. I know the holidays are here. I know people want to travel. Tune in every week here with me and we'll talk about travel. We can reminisce. We can share some fun stories. We have a couple fun interview guests coming up later this month to kind of round out the first season of Best of Travel here on IBM TV. But we're not traveling now. We're staying home. We're staying safe. Watch this show every week with me, hang out, and then go to my YouTube channel and go to my website and just watch some old videos of me exploring places, of inspirational videos, lots of drone shots and fun craziness, to just go, look at that travel. I miss it. We'll be back one day. Go be inspired and plan, budget and save and learn how to be a good traveler. But don't go do it. Please stay home. I know the holidays are tough. I know we all want to see family. I know we all have COVID fatigue. Trust me. I do too. Really bad. But you got to stay home. You got to stay safe, because I want to go. I want to travel again, and I can't do that without your help. You got to wear your mask, stay home, and be socially distant. As always, thanks for tuning in here to the Best of Travel every Tuesday at 11 on excuse me. Wow. I can't say IBM TV without burping. Oh my gosh. Let me sip some of my happy time tea. It's chamomile, lavender, and honey, because I'm bougie. Thank you so much for watching Best of Travel today. As always, if you want even more travel tips, tricks, and hacks, you can visit thebrandonscott.com. I got some hotel reviews. I got budget city guides, more great travel content. Domestic travel. Domestic travel is going to be where it's at when the pandemic starts to clear up. Lucky for you, I've got a whole playlist on my YouTube channel of USA city guides, budget city guides, and domestic travel tips. Don't forget to hang out here on IBM TV for some more great content. We've got Celebs Tuesday coming up at 12, Humera Wood at 1, Win with Win at 3. My name's Brandon, and listen, I love y'all. I'm so glad to be here. Before I go, I have to say one last thing. I purposefully tried to get my intro in fast because I want to tell you something very exciting. Well, I think it's exciting. Here's what's happening right now. Watch this show every week for the next month or so because airlines have started to do something very, very interesting. I don't want to tell you what. I don't want to spoil it too much. But if you remember in October, I don't know why I'm whispering. I'm whispering into the mic. Listen, the intro's over. The show's officially finished. I'm just a secret. This is a secret I'm sharing. The airlines back in October, when you remember they were gonna collapse, still might. But they're doing something very, very interesting. A lot of them are putting on points sales, and a lot of them are changing their rewards programs coming up on the end of the year. So hang out here with me because we're going to follow this. We're going to figure out what's happening in the airline industry because something is going on here. And I want to make sure you can take advantage of it. So every week, Tuesday at 11, pop in. You never know. We might have some breaking news in the airline world. Next week, we have a really great guest coming on, and we'll have some other great guests rounding out this season. But we're gonna figure this out together, you and me, because if airlines drop the price of their points way down and modify their rewards programs, it may be possible to, without booking a flight, book a crap ton. Can I say crap? Probably, it's fine. A crap ton of points and rewards options. So that way, your $200 a day trip to Europe is even less. Even less. So anyway, that was my little aside. I wanted to buzz through real fast because I wanted to share with you something fun is happening in airline world. I don't know what yet. I'm still trying to uncover it. I'm playing Sherlock Holmes. So tune in every week here. Anyway, okay, I guess I don't have to read the outro again because that was my little aside after the outro. I'll see you very, very, very soon. Enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the rest of the shows here on IBM TV.